there everyone, and welcome back to another Minecraft video. My name is Shells, and today we are working in my Legend of Zelda inspired adventure map today again, my Legend of Alex world. Now as you can see, I made this really cool room the last time we were here for Hyrule Castle, and then I kind of left off and did something else with the town and stuff for a while. But what I'd really like to do is complete the interior for the castle so that way I can then work on the exterior. What that means, of course, is that I need to start work on the throne room over here. Now, when picking a reference for this build, there are three main games that feature the Hyrule Castle throne room: A Link to the Past, Twilight Princess, and Tears of the Kingdom. Of these throne rooms, my favorite one has gotta be from Tears of the Kingdom, so that's the winner. We're gonna use that one. Ding ding ding! Now, one of my worries with using Tears of the Kingdom is that at a glance, it looks more like a gothic build because of the ribbed vaults and the bar tracery in the windows. But it's actually not. This is still a Romanesque build. See the rounded arches? It is still a ribbed vault, but this is an example of a Romanesque ribbed vault. So that should be interesting, and it will fit right in with my Wind Waker Romanesque castle that I've already built. Alright, so the first thing I have to establish before I start building, is going to be looking at color palette stuff. Currently, for that main room, I have, this is my wall color, these are my floor colors. But if you look at the Tears of the Kingdom look, it kind of looks more like the walls are closer to this color palette, which is actually the same color palette I used for these city walls here. And I'm not sure if I want to transition to that more beige color or not. Definitely not going to use any of the blue. I will use the red for the carpet. Now, something I am wondering is that, if you look at A Link to the Past's throne room, they definitely have more of a pinkish tone for the throne room. Now, I'm going to achieve some of that just by putting in a whole lot of red carpets, but I'm almost wondering if I need to include some of that and make almost like a beigey, pinky tone. Well, as pretty as it is, I don't think it goes for the vibes I'm wanting for this at all. I'm not really sure how I feel about this either. This is just taking that coloring and putting it into the floor pattern. I think I kind of want to keep this same floor pattern so that way there's some continuity between our first room here and the second. But I'm honestly not a big fan of how this looks. Well, it's not perfect. But if I'm going to go for a completely desaturated version of this floor pattern, this is probably what I would go with. It's a little bit silly that I had to use furnaces, and anytime I use something silly like furnaces or blacksmithing tables, I know that they make decent enough floor patterns, but I always worry that people in the map are going to be like, ooh, I wonder if there's any secrets inside. The answer is no, there will not be any secrets hidden in any of these furnaces. But I think this is a decent enough desaturated palette, so I'm probably going to try to stick with this. I think something I've decided upon just from going through this transition into this room is that I think I want to keep this color for all of my pillars. Let's just be consistent with that. Which then makes me wonder if I need to make this floor be a little bit more matching of this sort of color palette here. I don't want it to be the exact same, but this almost seems a little bit too desaturated in my opinion. What I might end up doing is just keeping this floor pattern here, but that is kind of a shame because even I stole this floor from A Link to the Past. And in A Link to the Past, it switches to a very pink colored floor pattern. And I don't really want to just steal this floor pattern either, but I might just use this orangey colored palette instead. Just because it'll look a little bit nicer than gray, I think. I'm not sure. I'll mess with it some more. Is it bad that I kind of prefer the pink? Yeah, I mean, it goes a little bit better with the color palette for the actual pillars and stuff. And then it also transitions a little bit nicer from here. It's still a weird transition going from my turquoise to a pink. But, I mean, it does that in A Link to the Past anyway. It's just a little bit bizarre because suddenly it's, well, it's very pink. Let's just say that. So I really wanted to keep reflecting this pattern here, where it almost went from a light block to the stripped wood to a log to a plank. I decided to try the same thing over here. And this works okay, but I actually like it even less than I did before, strangely enough. I think it's a little bit too dark, and overall it's too saturated. I kind of like how desaturated, like, the terracottas were. The purple terracotta and the magenta terracotta. They are very, very desaturated, but it's really, really hard to find matching blocks that are quite that desaturated. I'm not really sure what else I could do, though. I'm probably overthinking this. Honestly, a pink floor is not in my best interest, and yet here I am trying it anyway. Woohoo! I'm just going to ignore the floor for right now and just move on. I'll keep the same floor pattern and the same colors and everything, just so that way it'll be easy to completely change later. But for now we're gonna leave it as this weird mauve color. So the first thing I need to do is actually establish the size and shape of my room. Something I am wondering here is if I should just kind of stick with this same Roman arch that I've got up there, in which case I should probably move these pillars over until they're level with that. Yeah, I think that might be for the best. I do worry that that will make this room particularly huge, but it would make things line up a little bit nicer. So let me try that. Okay, I think I've got the pillars basically where I want them to be. The next thing I have to do is actually start making the arches across. These ones will be easy because it's just that same arch over there. These ones are going to be a little bit squished. I just have these lines because that was how I was placing my octagon. I need to adjust this. This makes a cool pattern in the ceiling in Tears of the Kingdom, and I really want to replicate that, but I'm trying to figure out like what those angles are that it's making, and I haven't figured that out yet. So I kind of want to draw that out before I actually start making the vault lines. But for now I can at least, you know, get the main arches in. Alright, I've got a pattern here. I don't think it's exactly like what I can see in the Tears of the Kingdom thing, but I think it'll be cool enough that nobody will care. So now what I have to do, I've already started there a little bit, is actually turn them into proper ribs that go up and meet up with the octagon Star of David sort of shape up here. Good enough? It's alright. It's not as dynamic as the one that you can see in Tears of the Kingdom for sure. But it's still interesting enough that I'm going to call it passable. So we'll leave it at that. Haha! Alright, it's starting to take some sort of shape here. It is already starting to get dark, and I already know I'm gonna have to poke some holes in here. And of course I need to add some more shading, because right now it's just a flat color, but this is the general idea. I tried to put some of the design that's going up on the sides of these, according to Tears of the Kingdom, but I cannot on that angle. It's just too weird of an angle. So you get some vague squigglies instead. Overall, this room feels, well, short to me. I feel like I needed to have raised up these pillars just a little bit more, because as it is, this room feels a little bit, yeah, not high enough. Some of that could be just because I was basing this off of the arch from that room. Actually, that's likely. But it is what it is, and, you know, it doesn't have to be an exact replica of the Tears of the Kingdom throne room here. It just has to be similar enough that it's recognizable, and that's the main hope here I have. It's amazing how much of a difference just a little bit of shading adds to a build. This was looking rather flat before, and I like it so much better now that I've added just tiny hints of shades. Ah, the royal donut is complete. Now it does look like this center circle, it's a circle, not an octagon in the middle here, is supposed to be a little bit bigger. But I worry I'm going to run out of room for my stairs, because I do plan on putting in there's a bit of a spirally staircase that leads up to here on either side. And I want to be able to keep that in and still be able to walk all the way around the room. I'm pretty sure the room in Tears of the Kingdom just happens to be way, way, way bigger than what I have here. But, you know, I'm doing the best I can here. I'm still not entirely convinced I like this, this color that I've got for the floor here. I might end up trying a couple more things. I'm almost wondering if I need to do something more, I don't know, a little bit more natural in color, something, more like, using granite as a main color, rather than trying to go full on pink. So that way it's got some pinkish tones in there, but isn't just, you know, screaming in my face that it's pink. Alright. I think I'm liking this look just a little bit better. I still got, like, the pinkish red tones in it, but you know, it's not like the full on just red. So I think I'm okay with this. The granite is a little bit desaturated to make a proper jump between my cherry wood and the pink terracotta. But I couldn't find an alternative that I liked, so this'll do. This'll be fine, I think. Transition-wise, I think it actually works pretty well with this as well, going from the blue to this pink. I like it a lot better than that weird mauve color, so we're gonna stick with it. I think I need to start poking more holes. I have that hole on the very end, but it's being blocked by this lip here, so I think I need to have one a little bit further in to actually nail the floor down there. It is getting too dark in here. Ah, much better. Yeah, I just had to move it forward by one so that way it came over that lip. Much better. Okay, I'm willing to look at the Tears of the Kingdom thing and look at what I have here and know that I have done this room all wrong. There's supposed to be a lot more verticality to the Tears of the Kingdom room, and I just don't have that, but I think I'm going to have to work with what I have here anyway. So some of the problem, this lip here is supposed to be the second floor, and in Tears of the Kingdom, there's stairs that go down on either side of the throne here, so that's supposed to be at a lower level. Then it comes down more stairs, down in front, and then has the spiral staircase coming down. And clearly I don't have enough room for all of that here. So I think what I'm going to end up sacrificing is instead I'm going to have some stairs that come down off of this lip, and then have the spiral staircase come down from there. I think that's the way we're going to handle this. It's going to be a little bit well, unimpressive compared to the Tears of the Kingdom version. But as I said before, it doesn't have to be perfect. The idea is to get the general gist across that this is what I'm trying to replicate. And I think this will be good enough. Alright, so we've got the throne that's going to come up here. I have this little bit of stairs here, and then this section, and from here I need to actually lay out my circle and start plotting out the spiral staircase from here. Now these spiral staircases are going to be a little bit large because I have to actually bring them all the way to the wall, the outside wall here. But that shouldn't be too big of a deal. Theoretically, there should be pillars right here, so that we're going to be adding pillars here later. I figure I'm going to get this actual staircase in first, and then I'll add all of the pillars and arches underneath afterwards. It occurred to me while filling in where I want my stairs to be with stained glass on the top here that I don't actually know where this is going to come down to. What I ought to do is just start building the stairs and see where they go. I'm keeping my stairs relatively thin, so they're not as obviously wedge-shaped in a lot of these steps, but I figure that'll keep the stairs relatively small looking. It'll be fine. I've gotten this far in placing my spiral staircase in, according to what I had for my stained glass up above, and I can already tell that it's going down a lot steeper than I would have liked. It's going to come down, it's not even going to make it to this halfway point here. And I'm not particularly fond of that. So I think what I have to do is kind of combine some of these stairs to make really thicker stairs, is what I ought to do. It's a bit unfortunate, but that's just how it goes. Redo. Ah, yes, that's a much better curve. It comes down almost to the point I wanted, and that's just about right, I gotta say. So the next thing I need to add here is putting in some pillars and some little arches that go underneath these stairs. So that way they're actually supported by something. Once I have that, I can go ahead and copy that and paste it to the other side. Ta-da! Look at it, isn't it glorious and beautiful? Some of these are a little bit less precise than I would like, but, you know, it gets the idea across. And the next thing I need to do is actually come up here, and for some reason there's like almost a little balcony that sticks out from here. So once I get the balcony in, I think I'm good to just completely take this side and copy and paste it over to there. There we go. Now that's looking pretty cool. Now for the center area, I mean, in Breath of the Wild, it's a giant hole that leads down to the main boss room where you fight Calamity Ganon. In Tears of the Kingdom, they just filled it with dirt. So I feel like it does need to go down a step or two, but then I think I'm just gonna have a flat floor, and I'll probably just replicate this same pattern that I've got going on over here. I don't know, part of me wonders if I should try to put some sort of mural or mosaic, maybe the royal crest in the middle here, because it does seem like a bit of a missed opportunity to put some sort of picture here in the ground. I don't know, I'm not entirely certain what I want to do with it. Yeah, maybe a bit of a missed opportunity to put something here, but honestly, I'm okay with it being as is. Boy, they really make you jump down into this little pit here, though, to get seen by the king or queen. No big deal. Yeah. Honestly, I think having put in these stairs, I feel a lot better about how this room is looking. So let's go ahead and keep going with it. Next thing to do is to actually start building the outer section, the spot that's going to go around the ambulatory, so to speak. Alright, so finding the sizing for this next part is going to be a little bit tricky. You see, some of these, ambulatories are always weird anyway, but some of these, back vaults are like, they have like 6 points on them. It's weird. So the main thing is there's going to be an arch here leading that way. But then, instead of just being one big arch like you see there, there's actually 2 pillars in between the windows in the tracery. So that means we have 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point, 5 point, 6 points going into a very strange looking vault right in this area. And it does that on all of these main ways here. For those of you who are curious about the placement of this additional pillar, you'll notice that to get from the center of that pillar to the center of the build, it's a 1-2 pattern. Well, I'm just going to follow that same 1-2 pattern to figure out exactly where I want my other pillar to go on my larger octagon. I think the main thing is figuring out exactly how big I want that octagon to be. Certainly not very big. This is 23 blocks across here. So at least half of that is going to be 11 blocks this way. Maybe comes out to about here-ish, and I think that's approximately where I want to go. So we're just gonna follow that line till it reaches 11 blocks away from that. So it should be right about here. So I've already got my pillar copied, so I just, paste, split. Alright. Cool, we've got the pillar. This other one, I'm not sure where to put it exactly. I might just do the same thing going this way. That'll probably work. Maybe. We'll see. Oh yeah, that'll be perfect right there, because, that's, yeah, nice. I can actually already see that we're going to end up with a slightly larger arch over here than we are over here, which is slightly problematic. What do I do about that? That's not exactly what I was wanting. If I could make these equidistant, that would be phenomenal. So I might scoosh the pillar that way just a little bit more. I think that pillar's fine, but I want to try to divide this a little bit more equally. Well, turns out I'm pretty unsuccessful at getting these to actually line up properly. We've got 11 between each of the pillars on these side, and then 9 in between the pillar here. And I think I'm just going to have to be happy with that. Alas. Wait a second. Look at this arch. That point right there. That's not on a springer. That's just like in the middle of the main arch there. Hey. That's not allowed. We don't do that. The question is, do I mimic that? It's in the game. It's right there, folks. I don't know. Looking at this space, I am noticing that this is going to be one weird vault. It does make more sense to try to divide it into a vault there. But I think I would, instead of making an imaginary point right there to make a 4-pointed arch, what I would probably do is just make a 3-pointed arch through here. And then another 3-pointed one to then make a 4-pointed arch in the middle here. I think that's what I'm going to end up doing because, yeah, what they have in the game just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm not gonna do it. So there. Ha. Alright, I think at this point, instead of making the vaults go up to connect to a point up above, I think I'm just going to make it more like a traditional Gothic ribbed vault, where I'm just going to draw a straight line across, I mean, at this point, I've basically got Gothic ribbed vault stuff anyway, because my rounded arches are no longer exactly round. Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna Gothic arch this thing. It'll be a lot easier for me to do. Alright, the ribs are in place and now it's just time to start filling in the vaults. I decided I ultimately didn't like the way I had this three-way vault, so I changed it. It looks a little bit funny, but yeah. Well, it's far from perfect, but it'll do. At this point, I don't even care that much. It's fine. So now what I have to do is just take this same iteration and copy and paste it to either side here, and then make this four-pointed vault in the middle here. And then honestly this ambulatory should be done, which is great. Looking at it from back here, I think I need to make those arches not white anymore. They need to be more recessed. I think I need to make them the sandstone color because they're standing out just a little bit too much as is. That's better. You know that horrible, awful moment when you've recorded a big section of video only to realize that it wasn't recording audio and then it ends up like getting corrupted anyway and you lose all of that? Yeah, that happened to me. So, hate to do this to you, but, it's done! Ta-da! Alright, so let's go ahead and go over what I've done here. I think the first thing is to note these vaults. I'm honestly not entirely happy with the way the vaults look. This one especially, this weird triad vault, is just kind of weird. But beyond that, I kind of wish I had done proper Romanesque ribbed vaults where they actually go above the line here, just because I find that having them on the same level actually kind of detracts from this main octagon in here. It would have been better if I had ballooned up above for those particular ribbed vaults. But I didn't, and at this point it's too late for me to go through and completely redo it unless I just start from scratch, basically. One of the big things I ended up doing here, of course, was trying to make this throne look at least somewhat decent. I honestly think that this circle could have been a little bit bigger. Right now it looks like I was trying really hard to squish it between these two pillars. That wasn't my goal, but it's what happened anyway, and honestly this feels a little bit underwhelming as it is, but I don't think I'm going to change it. In the Tears of the Kingdom version, there are like spikes poking out that kind of add almost like sun ray effects going out there. I tried adding those in and they honestly just looked really super silly, so I removed them. Otherwise, I have here my banners that I spent far too long trying to figure out a design that I actually liked. I was trying to use actual banners, but the fact that they go up against a wall and don't actually hang from anything was a little bit problematic and was kind of frustrating, so I ended up going with just, you know, a solid wool block sort of effect. For my statue over here, I kept it really, really simple. This statue is actually the same size as the guard statues that are in that room, but they look really, really shrimpy compared to this wall. Not a big fan of it, but that's the best I can do on a diagonal, I think. In the actual Tears of the Kingdom game, these are supposed to be horse statues. They're not actually built in the game. You see the rubble of one that's like collapsed to the floor. And it's, I don't know. I felt like the horse would take up too much room, and again, diagonals. Diagonals are the worst. So I think I'm gonna leave it just as that. I almost wonder if what I ought to do is maybe block some of this light. Lighting is kind of an issue. You want to, you know, your instinct is to make everything as bright as possible, but then you also have to keep into consideration what it's going to look like. I worry that that's a little bit too dark, but I almost need a happy medium between being too dark and too bright. Now, obviously, you're thinking, Shells, this can't be finished. Look, there's a giant hole in the ceiling. And where do these go? They go into nothing. Well, some of that is because this is going to go into a spiral staircase for a tower. And then the tower leads to a second floor. And then there's more stairs that then lead up to a bell tower at the very top. You know, I almost feel sorry for anybody in this throne room, because the moment that bell tower goes off, they're all deaf. They're not gonna have a fun time, but that's just how it looks in Tears of the Kingdom, and I really like the look of it, so I'm going to try to replicate that, but I haven't built it yet because I'm going to build it when I build the exterior to the castle. Right now I've just been focusing on the interior, and the exterior here looks just abysmal and terrible. Which is how it's supposed to look. I haven't built an outer shell on it yet. So here's the full effect of the room. I think I'm quite happy with it, so yeah, I think I'm gonna call it there. I do find it a little bit funny that, you know, that this whole section down here is basically anybody coming to seek an audience is going to, you know, stand in the center while the king or queen or whatever is going to look down upon them. Except this railing is right in your face. I almost need, like, a step stool so that way they can come and, you know, properly judge their vassals from on top here. Oh well, that's what I get for building on the scale that I do, is that the scale's maybe a little bit out of whack, but I like it anyway. You know, I'm looking at the shadows here. This honestly looks like it's properly illuminated from the window, and that's because I poked a nice hole right here in the vault. I'm almost wondering if I need to do the same for the windows on either side. Alright, maybe not an almost. Let's go ahead and do that. I think that'll maybe brighten up the room a little bit more. Yeah, that's maybe still a little bit too dark in that corner, but I do feel better about that. It's not much of a difference, but it's a little bit of a difference. More braziers, perhaps? It helps. I like that. We'll go ahead and add it over here, too. There we go. Now this room is done. I think that's a much better solution than the skylight over there. It still keeps it in shadow, but it's not just like black. So yeah. Ta-da! It's done! I think I'm going to go ahead and end the episode here. The next thing I really need to do is just build the entire exterior to the castle. The only thing left to do on the interior of the castle is the dungeons, which can go underground, and I don't care about it for the exterior, like, at all. So, just getting a big shell going around the outside is going to be a huge endeavor. I might end up just trying my best to do, like, a time-lapse video or something of it, just because it's a big build. It's going to take me a long time to be able to finish, but at least I've got all of the interiors done for the castle, and I can say that I'm quite happy with how it is looking. If you have any comments or suggestions for me as to what I can add, feel free to leave them in the comments section. I love seeing what you guys think of the build, and love hearing your suggestions. Thanks again so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I will go ahead and see you in the next one! Goodbye!